You wake up, and before you have even opened your eyes fully, before you have heard a single sound from the world outside, something heavy is already sitting on your chest. Most people believe this feeling comes from their problems, from the news, from the ache in their knees, from the worry about a child or a bill or a doctor's appointment. But in 70 years of watching people and in watching myself, I have come to see something else. It is not the problems that make the morning heavy. It is the first thing you say to yourself. Those first few words, the ones you speak inside your chest before you have even sat up, set the temperature of the entire day. They are like the first note of a song. Everything that follows will be shaped by them. Most of us have never chosen those words. We have simply inherited them from old fears, from habits formed in harder years, from voices that were not kind to us. And so we carry them forward morning after morning without ever stopping to ask whether they are true or whether they are serving us or whether something better might be possible. Today, I want to give you something different. 5 things to say to yourself each morning. Simple things, true things, things old enough to have been carried across many centuries and gentle enough to be whispered by someone whose hands are no longer steady. They do not require anything special from you. No equipment, no early rising, no perfect health. You can say them lying in bed, before you have put on your glasses, before the kettle has boiled. Each one comes from a long tradition, from teachers who understood something about the morning that most of the modern world has forgotten. And the 5th phrase, the last one I will share with you today, I have saved for the very end. It is the one I have said to myself every single morning for more than 40 years on the good mornings, and on the mornings I did not want to wake at all. Stay with me until the end. I think it will mean something to you too. Tip 1. I am still here. The first is this. 3 words, sometimes 4, depending on how you say them. I am still here. I once knew a young man. He was not so young when I knew him, perhaps 55, who had spent 2 years very ill. I will not name the illness. It does not matter. What matters is that for a long time, the doctors were not certain he would recover. He did recover, and he told me something I have never forgotten. He said that on the first morning he woke up and felt truly well again. He lay in his bed for a long time before doing anything else. He said he put his hand on his chest. He felt his heart beating, and he thought, very simply, I am still here. He told me that morning changed him permanently, not because his problems disappeared. They had not. Not because his body was perfect. It was not. But something had shifted. He had touched, for just a moment, the extraordinary fact of his own continued existence. Most mornings, we forget this. We leap over it. We move immediately to what we must do, what we forgot yesterday, what is worrying us now. We treat being alive as ordinary, as simply the floor we walk on, not a gift. It actually is. The Buddhist tradition has a practice for this. It is called gratitude for presence. It is not gratitude for things, for blessings, for what has gone right. It is something more fundamental. It is gratitude simply for the fact of being here at all. Tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, place one hand on your chest. Feel what is there and say quietly, in whatever way feels natural to you, I am still here. You do not have to feel it fully at first. That is all right. Say it anyway. Say it the way You would acknowledge an old friend you had not expected to see, because that is what each morning is, my friend, a reunion with your own life. Do this for a few days. Something softens. I cannot explain it more precisely than that. Something in the body remembers that it has not yet finished, that there is still time, that the day ahead, whatever it holds, is being given to someone who is still here to receive it. This is how you begin the morning, with your feet on the ground. But gratitude for being here is only the first step, because many of us who are grateful for another day are still carrying the full weight of every day that came before. And no one can walk well under that kind of load. Tip 2. I release what I cannot carry. The second thing to say is this: I release what I cannot carry. My mother, she passed many decades ago now, but I still think of her most mornings. My mother had a practice I did not understand until I was quite old myself. Every morning, she would sit for a few minutes before the rest of the house woke. She kept a small bowl on the table beside her chair, just an ordinary clay bowl, nothing special about it. And she would sit there, and I would watch her. I was a boy, curious about everything, and her lips would move very slightly. And then she would make a small gesture with her hands, as if she were setting something down into the bowl. I asked her once what she was doing. She said, I am putting my worries somewhere they can wait, so I do not have to carry them all before breakfast. I thought this was a strange thing for a grown woman to do. I was perhaps 8 years old. I thought adults had solved worrying. I understand now what she was doing. She was practicing something that the mind does not do naturally. The mind, left to itself, grips. It holds on. It carries everything forward from yesterday: the argument, the fear, the unanswered question, the unkind word someone said 3 weeks ago. It carries all of it, all the time, like a traveler who has never learned to put down the bag. But you cannot put down a bag you have not first named. This is what I want you to do tomorrow morning. Before you rise, or while you sit with your first cup of tea, take one breath and ask yourself, what am I carrying right now that I cannot actually solve this morning? Not everything, just one thing. The thing sitting heaviest. Name it in your mind or aloud if you are alone. Name it clearly and then say, I release what I cannot carry. Now, I want to be very honest with you. This does not make the worry disappear. I would not insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise. The thing you are worried about is still real. It still needs attention, perhaps. There are things in life that require a genuine concern. But there is a difference between holding something in your hands and being crushed beneath it. This phrase, this small act of deliberate release, moves the worry from your chest to your hands. From somewhere it cannot breathe to somewhere you can see it clearly. And when the time comes to address it, you will be clearer, calmer, more useful to yourself and to whoever else needs you. The body knows the difference. When the mind stops gripping, even briefly, the shoulders drop. The breath deepens. Something that has been clenched since the night before or longer begins to open. This is how you begin the morning without yesterday's weight on your back. And once we have released what we cannot carry, once we have set down the past, even just for now, the question becomes, where do we walk? What do we do with this morning we have been given? We are about halfway through our time together today. I want to remind you, the fifth phrase is still waiting, the one I return to every single morning. We are almost there, but first, let me ask you something. You do not need to answer me. Answer yourself, quietly. When did you last wake up and feel, even for just one moment, even for the length of a single breath, that today would be all right? Not perfect, not easy, just all right. If it has been a long time, I understand. Many of us have forgotten what that feels like. Not because our lives are so terrible, though some of you are carrying very real hardships, and I do not make light of that, but because we have lost the habit of meeting the morning gently. These phrases are not magic. They are habits, small ones, but they build the way water builds in a river, slowly, quietly, until one day you notice the current has changed. Let us continue. Tip 3. Today, I will move gently. The third thing to say to yourself is this: today, I will move gently. In the village where I spent much of my early life, there was an old farmer named Wen. No one knew exactly how old he was. He himself seemed uncertain. But by the time I was a young man, he was already very old. He had worked the land his entire life. What I remember most about Wen was how he moved. He never hurried, not because he was lazy, he was not. He worked long hours. He accomplished a great deal each day, but he moved through his work the way a river moves around stones, not fighting anything, not forcing anything, simply finding the natural way through. I once asked him why he never seemed to rush. He looked at me for a moment, and then he said, "The field does not grow faster because I run to it." He lived, as far as anyone could tell, past 100 years. And I believe, though I cannot prove it scientifically, that the way he moved through his days had something to do with that. The modern world has a strange belief about the body. It believes the body performs best when it is pushed, driven, demanded of, and there is some truth in that. The body does need to be used, to be moved, to be asked to do things. But there is another truth that older bodies know very well. The body also needs to be treated with kindness, not weakness, kindness. Tomorrow morning, after you have said the first two phrases, set one intention for your body. Just one. Keep it small. Keep it gentle. Perhaps I will walk to the end of the road and back. Perhaps I will stretch my arms above my head 3 times while the kettle boils. Perhaps I will drink 1 full glass of warm water before anything else. The intention is not the point. The gentleness is the point. You are not training for anything. You are not trying to lose weight or prove something or compete. You are simply tending to a body that has carried you through a long life and that deserves to be spoken to with the same patience you would offer a dear and aging friend. Today, I will move gently. Say it not as a limitation. Say it as a kindness. The body follows the tone you set for it in the morning. If you wake already demanding, already pushing, already measuring yourself against something, the body braces, it tightens. And a tight body, moving through a full day, is a body working much harder than it needs to. But a body that has been told, gently, first thing, that today we will be kind to ourselves, the body softens. And a soft body thinks more clearly, hurts less, and tires more slowly. This is a small thing, but small things said every morning for many years are not small at all. And the body has another need beyond movement. It needs to know that the person living inside it is at peace, that the self it carries is not at war with itself. Tip 4. I am enough right now. The fourth thing to say is one that I struggled with for a very long time. I am enough right now. I will tell you something personal. Even when I was 70 years old, when many people might look at a life and say, yes, he has done much, he has lived well, I still woke some mornings, with a quiet, nagging sense that I had not yet finished, that there was something left undone, that I had not yet become whatever it was I was supposed to become. This is not a small thing to confess. I am supposed to be a monk. I am supposed to have made peace with such things. But the truth is that this feeling, the feeling of not quite enough, is one of the most common feelings among human beings. I have sat with very many people across my long life, and I have heard it from almost all of them, in one form or another, from people who had accomplished a great deal, from people who had not, from young people and very old ones. It seems to have nothing to do with what we have actually done. It lives deeper than our accomplishments. The Buddhist understanding is this: the feeling of not enough is not a message about reality. It is a habit of the mind, one that was probably planted very early in our lives by someone or something that was not kind to us, and it runs in the background, quietly, the way an old clock ticks, unnoticed, until you are very still. The morning is a time of stillness, and so the clock ticks loudly there. Here's what I want you to try. Tomorrow morning, before the day begins its noise, find something simple in front of you, your own hands resting on the blanket, the light coming through the curtain, a cup of tea held in both palms, something real and present. Look at it or feel it and say, I am enough right now. Not, I will be enough when I finish this thing. Not, I was enough once in better years. Now, right now, as I am, with the knees that ache and the tasks undone and the years behind me and the uncertain ones ahead. Enough. This is not complacency. I want to be clear about that. You can still have goals. You can still want to grow, to contribute, to improve. But you do not have to earn your right to exist each morning. That right was given to you at birth. It has never been revoked. It does not expire. When you say this phrase and feel resistance, when a voice inside says no, that is not true, do not fight it. Simply note it and say the phrase again, gently. You are not trying to convince the voice. You are simply planting something new in the same soil. Over time, what you plant grows. This is how you give yourself permission to begin the day as a whole person, not a person still trying to prove something. And now, I have kept you long enough in the waiting. Let me give you the fifth phrase, the one I promised at the beginning, the one that, for me, has been the most important of all. Tip 5, the saved tip. I do not know what today will bring, and that is all right. The fifth thing to say to yourself in the morning is this: I do not know what today will bring, and that is all right. Let me tell you about a morning. I was 61 years old. I had woken early, as I usually do. The light was just beginning to come. I had made my tea. I was sitting quietly, feeling, as I often did in those years, reasonably at peace. Then a friend came to my door, a young monk from the temple nearby. His face told me everything before he spoke. My closest friend, a man I had known since we were both young novices, a man who had walked beside me through the most important years of my life, had died in the night. It was sudden. He had not been ill. He was simply gone. I sat with that news for a long time. I do not remember the rest of that morning clearly. I remember the tea growing cold. I remember the light changing. I remember the strange sensation of the world continuing to turn when some central thing had stopped. And at some point, I do not know when, I found myself saying, very quietly, the phrase I'm about to give you. I did not know this morning what today would bring. I could not have. And somehow, that has to be all right. It was not all right, of course, in the ordinary sense. Grief is not all right. Loss is not all right. I am not asking you to pretend that hard things are fine. But there was something in those words, something in the acceptance of not knowing that held me, that kept me from adding to the grief I was already carrying, the additional weight of feeling that I should have known, that I should have been prepared, that the world should not have surprised me this way. So much of our morning anxiety, perhaps most of it, comes from this one place. We are trying every morning to know what the day will bring before it brings it. We are running through the scenarios. We are preparing our defenses. We are bracing ourselves. And all of that bracing is exhausting, and none of it actually protects us. Life comes anyway, in whatever shape it chooses. The Zen tradition has a saying, not knowing is most intimate. What this means, and it took me many years to understand it, is that when we release the need to know, we are actually closer to life, not further from it. We are present with what is actually here rather than lost in our anxious imaginings of what might come. I do not know what today will bring, and that is all right. This is not passivity. You will still make your plans. You will still take your medicine as your doctor has instructed. You will still keep your appointments and care for your people and tend to what needs tending. None of that changes. But underneath all of that activity, there can be a kind of quiet ground, a place inside you that is not bracing, not gripping, not waiting for the blow, a place that has made peace with the open nature of the day. This is what those words cultivate, morning by morning, year by year. I have said them in good years and hard ones, on mornings of ordinary peace, and on mornings like that one, when someone I loved had gone in the night. They do not take away the difficulty, but they offer something perhaps more valuable than ease. They offer steadiness. And steadiness in a long life is worth more than almost anything. This is how you step into the unknown day without armor and find that you were safer all along than you realized. So let us gather what we have found today. 5 things to say to yourself each morning. I am still here. To begin with gratitude for the extraordinary fact of your continued life. I release what I cannot carry, to set down yesterday's weight before you walk into today. Today, I will move gently to tend to your body as you would tend to a dear and aging friend. I am enough right now to begin the day as a whole person, not one still trying to earn the right to be here. And finally, on the deepest and most difficult mornings, I do not know what today will bring, and that is all right. To make peace with the open sky above you, rather than spending the morning trying to build a roof where none is needed. These 5 phrases are not complicated. They will not take long. Say together, slowly, in the quiet of the morning, perhaps 2 minutes, perhaps 3. Less time than it takes for your first cup of tea to cool enough to drink. But they change the conversation you are having with yourself. And that conversation, the one no one else hears, the one that runs from the moment you wake until the moment you sleep, that conversation is in many ways, your life. Choose its words with care. Choose them with kindness. You have lived long enough, and you have worked hard enough, and you have carried enough heavy things that you deserve morning that begins with a few true and gentle words spoken to yourself by yourself. A river does not need to be told to flow, but it does need the right banks. These phrases are the banks. They do not force anything. They simply give the water somewhere to go. May your mornings be a little lighter. May the first breath you take tomorrow be one you notice. May you hear in the quiet before the day begins something that sounds like enough, like rest, like the particular peace that comes not from having everything solved, but from having decided just for this morning to be gentle with yourself. I would love to know. Tell me in the comments below. Which of these 5 phrases will you carry with you tomorrow morning? You do not have to try all 5 at once. Just one is enough. Just one, said with sincerity, can begin something. If these conversations have been useful to you, I would be glad for your company here each week. There is always a seat here, and the tea is always warm. And next time, we will talk about something that many people do not expect to be connected to peace. The way you end your day, what you do in the last 30 minutes before sleep, shapes not only how you rest, but how you wake. I think it will surprise you. Until then, be well, be gentle with yourself, and know that somewhere an old monk is wishing you a very good morning.